Oh, it's a good thing everyone knows what a MacGuffins is, otherwise that joke would make no sense.
So instead of taking apart my arguments, you're now trying to find problems with not one of my jokes, but a word used in the joke. So you know it's a joke and then disregard that to make up some nitpicky reason. Because my vocabulary might be too hard? Because every word I use, which I have to magically guess my audience won't understand, because you think the average one could be ignorant or simply not understand needs to be explained? YouTubers who you imply are so before the magnitude of my vocabulary could always do two things: ask me or use Google. They are YouTubers, right? Do they not use web browsers? Can they not see and hear what I'm saying and writing? Would you like a definition of the term search engine? To put this in context of writing, an author does have to take into regard the intelligence of their audience, but it is up to the audience to learn things on their own if they don't understand a word, if it's clearly written and properly spelled out.
But once again, this is YouTube. The average YouTube viewer is not a literary major or
So, neither am I.
has nothing to do with the intelligence of the people seeing this. Some of this you need to try and be as clear and simple as possible. Taking a couple seconds of your time to explain what a word means will go a long way to helping your argument be understood.
I don't know the average intelligence of those watching. Some people have been great, others have been childish dregs. I could have put this on Meta Cafe, and how do you know I'm even doing this for YouTubers? What if I'm doing it for just a small group of people who share some of my opinions, or just for my own selfish reasons, or maybe I'm just doing it so I don't have to have mindless debates with idiots who have no legs to stand on save their own imaginary, subjective, biased, made-up ones. The only thing of any value stated here is these past few minutes is the point of being clear. In fact, it's one of my favorite reasonings in writing or media. It's reason number one. And I agree when you say this, but let me also say this. No one has asked, messaged, or commented on my use of the word MacGuffin. I think they either understood it was part of a joke, or they didn't care. They certainly didn't ask what IFF was in that context, or what the triple bar, which is a symbol in formal logic, was. This is just you. Maybe your vocabulary or your intelligence is the problem, not necessarily my big confusing word used within a certain comedic context. The irony of all of this is you actually think Mass Effect 2 has a good plot and good storytelling, and that it is clear. This is purely a plot device to get everyone off the ship so that we can advance the plot.
Yeah, okay, so it's a plot device. So?
There's nothing inherently right or wrong or good or bad with plot devices or tropes or any kind of pattern in writing. But as soon as any component of the story can only be seen in their mechanical function, like plot progression, then it is a failure in writing. We're no longer discussing the story, we're discussing the writer's poor attempts at connecting scenes or the effects of causes by using a device whose only reasoning for existing is plot progression. Shepard and company having everyone going on a shuttle to nowhere for no reason, which has never been done before in the story, which we never even knew could be done by jamming 13 people and apparently a pilot together in a shuttle, even referring to an ambiguous mission just to create a scenario for the next scene to play out is the biggest break in logic in the narrative, and the most obvious plot hole in the story. This is actually worse than the resurrection because that is a large compound issue to explain, and while its execution was extremely bad, it was using a hand wave. In this case, it's so blatantly obvious the writer wasn't even over their head. They just got lazy as they're trying to progress to the next scenes by alluding to a gameplay mechanic, the mission, which causes the reality of the story world to be ambiguous. Shepard's no longer on the main plot, and instead is literally off on an aside, to nowhere. Exit stage left, sorry protagonist and supporting cast, we need to focus the story elsewhere.
Well, you could be saying, well, why not actually have them do a mission, like have them go do a loyalty mission or a side mission, but there's two problems with that. One, what if you didn't want to?
So then why did they get in the shuttle? This could have been one main plot mission. Why wasn't it? Any reason to get everyone involved would have sufficed.
Or two, like in my case, what if you'd already done them all? But
someone doing all the side missions or whatever has nothing to do with everyone getting in a shuttle for no reason. Even worse, that makes the scene even more contrived if it implies that ambiguous mission the player would be going on isn't there. Now the player has to figure out, where am I going? You'd be scratching your heads if you weren't already, and as to why we even left. This story simply never told us.
Then you're talking about making an entire story mission just so that you can then show what happened to Joker in the Normandy?
It could be anything. Anything to explain why every squad mate had to go away from the Normandy. Any reason. Anything better than nothing would have been fine. How about decontaminating the squad at a Cerberus facility because of their proximity to collectors or Reaper technology might have caused them to get infected with something or being partially indoctrinated? Hell, even make Chakwas be useful and say something about that. The Normandy wasn't finished its IFF install and they didn't want to risk it, so they put everyone who could be infected on a shuttle. That sounds like a okay reason. So many things could have fixed this. This wasn't just a wasted opportunity to have a meaningful mission or develop the plot. They had to literally screw up the believability of the rest of the story. There could have been a bonding moment on that shuttle, or some kind of group scene where everyone's talking or trying not to fight or trying to ignore each other or make light of the fact that they're all packed like sardines and are forced into following Shepard wherever he takes them, all to their deaths. Some realism, some humanity, some tongue-in-cheek to make light of the situation. This is just basic conversation stuff.
So it makes a few people think that the transition was a little awkward. So what?
What do you mean, so what? It's bad writing. If you can't see that, then you don't know what you're talking about. If you just admitted to this scene's only reason for being was to progress the plot in the most contrived and arbitrary way, as you say awkward, then it's bad writing and storytelling. The plot of a story shouldn't be awkward. It should be clear. A character can be awkward because of their personality or the tone of a scene, but not how a scene came about. As soon as the audience can identify or understand a part of a narrative only as a plot device, that's bad writing. We're not here to watch or experience a series of plot devices. We're here to have a plot. We're here to experience a story, one which doesn't undermine our intelligence, the characters, or the plot itself, also known as a good plot.
It's better than writing an entire mission just for the sake of getting to the next scene.
No, it's not. If there was an actual mission or story to tell, that would require every squad mate. That would explain why everyone had to leave the ship. All we needed was a reason.
Just because someone does something that is surprising or unpredicted doesn't make it a plot hole.
Stories can leave mysteries and some things unexplained. However, if it impacts the progression of the story, like we don't know why B followed A, then yes, that is a plot hole. That's the definition of one. These include such things as unlikely behavior or actions of characters, illogical or impossible events, events happening for no apparent reason, or statements, events that contradict earlier events in the storyline. This is the very definition and example of a plot hole. Plot holes are bad. This plot is garbage.
Want to capture people is only surprising if you don't pay attention.
The dead are useless. Preserve Shepard's body if possible.
Then why did the collectors destroy the Normandy in the first 10 minutes? Why did they try to kill Shepard on Horizon? Why did they try to kill Shepard on the Collector Cruiser by laying an inane trap? Why was the Collector Cruiser trying to destroy the Normandy after it powered up? And finally, why was Harbinger trying to collect Shepard? You see, if we don't know the motives or plot of the antagonist, which you think is great because he's mysterious, we don't know what the hell is going on. Does he want to kill or capture Shepard and company? Who knows? It's a mystery. But trying to listen to Harbinger's random sayings and trying to make some excuse as to what's going on with the plot, that's not cutting it.
What good would blowing the ship up do then? Because obviously he would not be getting very many intact bodies.
Let's see. Permanently stop the only guys who ever interfered with our collection attempts ever by destroying them, or spend the effort to board them on their own turf and apparently only take a collection of 25 red shirts where all of our previous collections or ground war attempts failed, yet we did succeed in blowing up their ship before. That works, right? Oh, wait, look, the squad of 13 killers aren't on board. What a coincidence. I guess we won't use seeker swarms. That would be too efficient. Let's just clobber them over the head and drag them into pods.
You don't set a trap like that if you're just trying to kill someone.
Then why were they trying to kill them before?
Why would you risk them gaining valuable information by allowing them onto your ship if you just want to kill them?
My thoughts exactly.
They probably wanted to capture him.
Are you sure? I was quite sure they wanted to kill him.
Now, they tried to blow him up once he escaped because they'd rather kill him than let him leave, but the simple fact that they went through so much trouble shows that they wanted more than just to end his life.
So you're saying they don't want to kill him, but because he's leaving them they do, but in reality they don't. So which one is it?
Are we really arguing about how they boarded the ship?
Yes. How else can we stop our enemies if we don't learn about them? Stopping the bad guys is the whole point of the story. It's a mystery who is capturing colonists. We then discover it's the collectors, yet we still don't know how they do so. The first mystery of the story is still not explained. We know they have opportunity and means, but we don't know their methods. The same way we magically get one of their secret swarms on our ship before we ever encounter them. These are obvious holes in the plot. Shepard gets to where he needs to go by way of the Normandy and the shuttle. The collectors, well, they've got a cruiser, and that's it. If they had shuttles, wouldn't that be really important information in our fight against them? Wouldn't it help clarify how they get from place to place? How they collect people? The secret swarms are already one giant plot hole. Well, we'll just keep adding more. Throw in any old plot device. We've got daddy issues to solve.
And your reasoning is, well, they can't have a shuttle, because if they had a shuttle...
I never said they can't have shuttles. I said I'm guessing they have shuttles.
Maybe she asked everyone she could to try and get down there and unshackle her. But since Joker was so far away from the action to begin with, he was the only one she could safely navigate to there.
So every able-bodied crewman on the second deck and that guy on the third deck who tries to help Joker couldn't do it?
There's this thing that Smudboy keeps doing, that he assumes that if the conversation did not take place on camera, it never happened.
And there's this thing you keep doing, which is inventing the narrative through induction of your own imagination to back up your poor understanding of it, like when making arguments with only basic, unrelated lore, but then go into pure conjecture. If you can do it to invent a plot and say it's good, what's stopping anyone else from doing the same and saying it's bad?
Do you honestly expect the video game to show you the battle from all 25 different perspectives of every crew member on the ship? Not only...
No, but I do expect a writer not to shoot themselves in the foot with obvious questions to the plot, especially when we have a character or characters whose situations are now compromised based on previous scenes, or unseen supposed or implied scenes, and how the existence of the current scene doesn't add up. For example, if we saw a scene of Chakwas getting knocked out, then that would explain why she or others in the area couldn't be involved with Edie's plan. When one analyzes the plot, these are the basic things you ask. Should a scene generate such obvious inquiries?
Okay, so do you honestly think that a service shaft only goes to one location? Haven't you seen Star Trek? Those things web the ship. You can get anywhere.
I don't know. Does it? Ladders go up and down. That's all I know. What was wrong with showing Joker struggling as he tries to literally crawl his way through a service shaft, trying not to hurt himself while listening to the screams of his colleagues? Even if there was such one shaft based on Star Trek lore, you can't assume a design in one piece of fiction works in another. That's completely unrelated. Edie tells Joker to follow the red lights. Are there red lights in the service shaft? And as you say, if the service shaft can go to other places, why wouldn't he just go straight to the AI core?
No one ever said that just because Joker unshackled the AI meant she had control of every aspect over the ship, period.
You're right. She even asked Joker to go down and do it himself, which would imply she can't do it alone. Good call. All these points I'm making when the collectors capture the crew are just small nitpicks, but it's nice to know someone's paying attention.